Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Space Engineers. And today we are going to be discussing cranes, both vanilla and scripted. So, with that, let's go ahead and jump right into things. So, first things first, let's kind of discuss what we're going to be needing for our vanilla crane. And we don't need much for it because all we are going to need is we're just going to need a couple of armored blocks for support. We're going to need the custom turret controller. We're going to need some way to control that. In this case, we're going to be using our helm. We're going to need some rotors. Optionally, you can use a hinge for your elevation. We're going to need some conveyor junctions if you plan on conveying this up. And for me, I'm just going to throw in a piston because it's going to help with you getting that extra reach. And lastly, we're going to need a magnetic plate and I forgot, some sort of camera. We'll go ahead and throw our camera up there. Don't know why I did that one, but that's okay. So to start things off, we're going to need to place down our turret controller. And I'm just going to place one here. Normally, I like to kind of dig down and place them, but for now, it works here. And then from there, we're going to just sit here and place our light armor blocks for some support. And we're going to place our rotor on top. All right, and that is going to be the base of our crane. Now, the rotor is going to control our azimuth, which will be our left to right rotation. And now we need to sit here and put our hinge on. Now, if I put the hinge like this, hinges can only do the, 180-degree arc. It's not going to be able to reach and touch things on the ground. So what I am going to do instead is we're going to delete our hinge and we're going to place some sort of block. Assuming we're conveying it, we'll just go ahead and do a curved conveyor. And then we'll place our hinge sideways. Alternatively, you could still just throw a rotor there. That still works. Okay. So now that we have our elevation done and our azimuth done, now we just need to add the last part of our crane, which in this case is going to be just our piston. We're going to go ahead and throw some sort of block right there. We'll throw our magnetic plate and we'll go back to our armor. Let's actually go we have the top mounted camera now. We don't need to do any shenanigans here. Top mounted camera. There you go. We'll just throw that right there. All right. Now the logic on this, pretty simple. We'll go ahead and throw our helm down just right in front of our turret controller. The logic on this is we're going to go into our turret controller. We're going to need to select our azimuth rotor, which in this case will be rotor 4. Select our elevation rotor. In this case, it will be our hinge. And we're going to assign a camera, which will be our top mounted camera. All right, that is all the logic for that taken care of. Now we'll just need to go into our helm, and then we'll hit G, add our custom turret controller to our hotbar. Scroll all the way down till we find control. Select that. And as soon as we hit 1, we now have access to this. And if we go back, so we'll just go back, hit G again. Let's go ahead and assign our piston to slot number 2 and have that ability to turn that on and off. We go back into 1. Now we can extend out and touch things. Now, the downside of all of this is, yes, this works. You're able to do things, and as long as it's something simple and doesn't require a whole lot of arcs of movement, it can be useful if, that's all you're going to need. Like, if you're just going to be using it to, like, hook up fueling lines and unloading cargo from a set point, this works perfectly. You don't need to do anything fancy. But it's very limited, and if you want to do more complex things using this, you're going to be putting in a lot of turret controllers and switching between them all. So now what we're going to do is we are going to switch things over, and we're going to do a scripted crane, which does require some setup. So give me one quick sec and we'll get right back to it. All right, so for our second crane, we're going to actually start things off from a different location. As you can see, I'm in the main menu of Space Engineers, mainly because if you don't know how to make it so you can use scripts, this is a good place to start. And what you're going to do is we're going to go into our options menu, and you're going to hit the game setting. And what we want turned on is this experimental mode. It'll give us a warning. We're going to hit yes. And we're going to hit OK. And then what we need to do is we'll go into our load game, select the map that we want to work with, hit edit settings. We want to go to advance. And the option we are looking for is in-game scripts. We want that turned on. We'll hit OK. We'll hit OK again. And we'll go ahead and load the map that we're in. All right, now that we're back in game, let's go ahead and set up our crane for our scripted side. So it's going to be very much similar in at least the base. And that is, we are going to need some sort of some sort of rotor. And then from there, we'll go ahead and throw a hinge on top this time. And then what I like to do is then I will add a piston. Not necessary. You can just use conveyor tubes, but in my case, I'm doing a piston. And then for me, I like to sit here, and what orientation do I have that? Line facing back. I like to sit here and add not one, but two hinges, followed by another piston. And lastly, we'll throw another hinge and a rotor. Now, as you can see, we're getting a lot more flexibility out of this one, just based off the shape alone. But the next part is where things kind of get a little bit tedious, and I wouldn't say tricky, just tedious. And for that, what we're going to need is we're going to go into our G menu, and we're going to look up our programming block. We're going to go just the regular programming block, and we're going to go ahead and throw that right next to here. It doesn't need to be next to the crane. It just needs to be on the same grid as the crane. And what we will do is we are going to press F. We're going to scroll down to edit. We're going to go to browse scripts. And the script we are looking for, if I type in park, is piston and rotor keybinds. Oops. I'm going to select that and copy that to the editor. And if you look, all of the instructions are right here in the top parts. So with that, we are going to know that we need a group called park. Now, the nice part about this is we can change this name. If we scroll down to I want to say this line, park tag. Oh, wait, right here. Right here. Read only string group name equals park. You can change that to everything within the quotation to whatever you want to name the group. In this case, we're going to just keep it the same. So we know we need a group called park. In that group, it needs to have all of our rotors and all of our hinges. Now, I don't suggest, unless you're going to use park to control the pistons, which you can do, I don't suggest you putting your pistons in the group because it does like to take over. So with that, I'm going to sit here and go through all of the stuff here, and we'll just go ahead and show you kind of what needs to get done. All right, before we get started with this, we do need to make sure we have our means of controlling this down, which will be yet another helm. And we'll go back into... Actually, we'll just go into the helm. We'll hit K, and if we go to a programming block, it will say right here in the left side, you know, there's no group with the name park. We're going to add all of our stuff. In this case, we're going to need our hinges and our rotors. And I like to throw the helm and the programming block into it. And we're going to name it, I believe it's capital P-A-R-K, to the group name. We'll go back to our programming block and we'll hit recompile. And if you look, we're not hitting that exemption, which means if we go into our advanced rotor here and we select custom data, you should see all of this filled out. Now, to set this up, we will need to manually set the speed and the keybind for all of our hinges and rotors, which is very simple. So we'll go back to our custom data, and what we'll do is we want this to be using our left-right directional pad. So what we'll hit is, I believe, is our yaw left. And we'll do this as one, yaw right as, and now here's the trick. -1. So we'll sit here and see how this works. If I go back out and we go into our helm, we go into our programming block and let's go ahead and recompile this. Recompile. I see you're already inside helm. Warning. Oh, hey, look. Controller helm is set to control thrusters. So that's something we do need to do, is we need to go here and turn off all of the extra stuff our helm can do. So now that's all turned off. We should be able to press our left and right directional button. So right now I'm pressing the right and it's going left, and I'm now pressing the left and it's going right. So what we need to do to fix that is go back into our advanced rotors custom data and flip these around. So our left yaw is going to be -1. Our right yaw is going to be +1. And that will fix that. Next up, we need to Let's go ahead and exit out here. Hit K again. So for our next one, I want to do this hinge. And we'll go to custom data. Now, for this one, we want to use our pitch up and pitch down. So pitch up, we're going to do 1, pitch down, -1. And if we do that and we go back to our programming block, and we'll have to recompile again. We'll see. There we go. Down is down, up is up, left is left, right is right. So, and we are going to continue that throughout the rest of this. The only tricky one is going to be these next 2 hinges, which I want to control both of them with the same button press. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that, custom data, and what we're going to do is let's have this one be our forward and back. So forward being your W, back being your S. So since both of these are going to be fire, I'm going to only do this for 0.5 and -0.5. And then I'll select the other one. Custom data, forward, 0.5, and backward is -0.5. And if we sit here and go back to our programmable block and recompile one more time, we'll sit here and see that that middle section is now moving and operating with both of those hinges. Now, the reason why I like to have 2 in the middle is just for this nice fact right here. Is when I am not using the crane, it actually folds up quite nicely. So lastly, we just need to do the same thing for both the hinge and the rotor on the end. So for that, I'm just going to sit here and pause the video as I quickly set that up and kind of show you what that looks like. All right, now that it's all completed, as you can see, we have full movement of this crane. We can extend out, we can move the head up, we can move the head down, we can rotate the end, and we just have more ability to do different functions with this. And so one of the things that we can do with this is the reason why I put the rotor on the end of the crane is you can actually use it and swap out your different tool sets. So if you have a ship that you like to use that can do just some basic mining, throw a drill on there. Want a ship that can salvage? Throw a grinder on there. You want a ship that can weld? Throw a welder on there. You can do these 2 pistons. You can do more pistons. I do suggest, though, if you are having pistons on this, something you are going to need to turn on is your inertial tensors. It smooths things out. It makes everything just run cleaner. You can do it without it, and if you're using just something as simple as this setup, you shouldn't run into any issues. But if you're doing something with more pistons, more rotors, more hinges, I highly suggest it. Another thing you can do, and I haven't messed around with this function within the script itself, is you can set a homing position for the crane. So when you're not using it, the crane automatically goes there, or you can set it up to a hotkey if I'm not mistaken. And lastly, you can set up different profiles for this. So right now I have one speed for everything, but if I want to have like a speed where the crane just moves really fast, I can set up another profile and just run that profile. All of the instructions for that are actually in the script's top part. Now that I've shown you how to build a basic crane in Space Engineers, I'm hoping from here you can go on and experiment, build crazy contraptions, build ludicrous cranes, and I'm hoping you just have fun with it. I've seen some pretty interesting cranes, and some people even use, while not using the Park script, there is a script called, I believe it's called ARM OS, that just does some crazy shit. Now, with everything, the best advice when building cranes that I can give you is just build them. Build them, play around with them, experiment with them, see what works, what doesn't work. And this goes for both vanilla and scripted. Like even with the basics of the turret controller, you can get some pretty crazy cranes if you're willing to allow Clang to do its thing. Now, that being said, use that at your own risk. But until next time, I'm the Kilted Bastard. If you liked this video, please like the video. If you like me, please subscribe. And please let me know down in the comments something that you feel like I could be doing better with these as I'm progressing in through my YouTube career. If not, let me know what you would build. Like, what type of crane do you want to build in this? Down in the comments down below. Until next time, I'll talk to you later. Have a great rest of your night.